Hey, I'm Liz from No Trace. Welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make a very cute, very boxy zipper pouch. You just need 1 fat quarter of fabric and some scraps. So let's go. The finished dimensions of this boxy pouch are about 6.5 inches wide and 6.5 inches long and about 4 inches tall. As always, if you click underneath this video into the description box, you can see the supplies that you need, but I am using 1 fat quarter of fabric. You want to pick a print that does not have a super clear direction because it's going to be wrapping continuously around your boxed pouch. This really cute ladybug fabric is from the Charlie Harper Fat Quarter Collection, Harvest Volume 2 by Birch Fabrics. This is 100% organic cotton. Whenever I have to buy new fabric, I want to get it organic, and Birch has a ton of really cute prints. You're also going to need 2 scraps of fabric that are 2 inches tall and 6 inches wide. The scraps are going to be on the inside of your bag, covering up your seams. You could also skip the binding here and do a zigzag stitch instead, but I would recommend just getting something from your scrap pile. You also need a 10-inch zipper. You need about a 1/2 yard of cotton batting. You have the option of also adding some little loops on the sides, on the ends of the zipper. And if you want to do that, you're also going to need 6 inches of ribbon or some kind of strap. The very first step is to cut your fat quarter into 2 pieces. So the fat quarter is 18 inches tall and it's about anywhere from 20 to 22 inches wide, depending on the exact fat quarter that you have. So you want to fold it so that you're going to cut it down the center. So you'll have 2 pieces that are 18 inches tall, and then each piece will be about 10 to 11 inches wide, depending on the full width of your fat quarter. So I am going to fold this so it's a little bit easier to cut it in half. And I am going to measure the full width of this fat quarter. I also trimmed off a little bit of the selvage edge. So my fat quarter is 22.5 inches from end to end. So that means I'm going to cut it in half at 11.25 inches. And then I'll have 2 equal pieces to use for the bag. Now I'm going to take one of my halves and I am going to quilt it onto a piece of cotton batting that's also 18 inches tall and about 11 or so inches wide. You can see on this bag, I just did a series of straight lines across the fabric to connect the fabric to the batting. You could do any pattern you want, and really you could even skip the quilting and just pin the batting onto your fabric. But let me show you how to do some quilting if you want to do some really simple quilting. So I'm going to set my little demo bag to the side, and I'm just going to place 1 piece of fabric on top of the batting. And make sure your fabric's not too wrinkly. Make sure your batting isn't too wrinkly either. And then I am going to just take this to the machine and sew a whole bunch of straight lines to join these 2 pieces together. All right, I'm at my Juki and I put my stitch length at the longest that I have, which is 5 millimeters. And now I'm just starting on one side of my fabric, and I'm going to do these lines every 1 inch, and I'm going to do my best to sew nice and straight just through both layers. And now that that first row is done, I'm going to use that as my guide to keep sewing these every 1 inch apart. All right, I finished quilting one piece of fabric onto the batting. I'm going to just take a moment and trim off some of the extra batting away from my fabric. And of course, I'm going to save my little batting bits. These make excellent stuffing if you ever do little stuffed animal projects. Now I'm going to clip the 2 panels onto one side of my 10-inch zipper. Now you can decide if you want the quilted panel on the outside, which is what I did here, but you could also put the quilted panel on the inside of your bag. So let's say we want the quilted panel on the outside of the bag. You're going to get your zipper and place it right side down at the top edge. Well, remember, there isn't really a top or bottom, but you want to put the zipper right side down on one edge of your quilted panel, and then you're just going to get some clips and clip it in place. And now that one side of the fabric is clipped in, we're going to get the other piece of fabric and place it right side together on top, and we're going to add it into the clips here at the top edge. And again, your direction should not really matter, so hopefully that is the case for the fabric that you picked. And at my machine now, I have my zipper foot in place, and I'm going to be sewing along this top edge with about a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I'm flipping it over, so I am looking at the batting side, and I'm going to do a little back stitch here at the beginning, and then I'm just going to sew straight down this top edge with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. That seam is finished. I should have used a darker thread. I'm sorry, I forgot. Okay, so now I'm going to open these pieces of fabric up so I can see my zipper. And I had to open it a little bit as I sewed to keep that pull out of the way. And in the next step, I'm going to take a moment. I'm just going to iron the fabric away from the zipper teeth. And now I am going to bring the bottom edge of this first side of the bag up to the other side of the zipper tape, and I am going to clip it onto this side of the zipper. Once those 3 clips are in place, I'm going to bring up the other end from the other side, the other piece of fabric, and I am going to add it into the clips and make sure it's nice and straight. So now both ends are added into the clips, and I'm going to sew across this edge with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, again with my zipper foot. I finished that seam, so now I am going to turn things around so I can see the inner fabric, the non-quilted side of my bag. And I'm going to take this to the iron, and I'm going to iron the fabric away from the zipper on both sides of the bag. If you have a mini ironing board like this one that I have, it has this lovely arm for ironing narrow things. You can slide your bag onto there and then get a really nice press along the zipper. You're going to want some chalk for the next step. The first thing I want to do is I want to find the bottom middle by bringing the zipper up to the top and then tugging gently on the fabric so that I can find the center. And I'm going to mark it with chalk on both sides of the bag. Now that the centers have a little bit of chalk that you can probably barely see on there, I am going to lay the bag flat. So the bag is sort of like a tube at this point. I want to bring the zipper down flat and in the middle. So I'm going to use those chalk marks that I made to find the middle of my bag, and I'm going to put a little clip here so that the zipper is lined up with the chalk mark. Actually, I want my zipper open and lined up with the chalk mark. Go ahead and clip that together. And this next part, you're going to want a ruler or a cutting mat because we are going to be making marks that are 2 inches away from these folded edges. So from that folded edge, I'm going 2 inches towards the center, towards that zipper, and I'm putting a chalk mark right there. And then I'm going to do the same thing down here on this folded edge. I'm going to go up 2 inches towards that zipper, and I'm going to put a chalk mark. So I have 2 chalk marks. I want to do the same thing on this side of the bag. So go up 2 inches towards the center, make a mark. Same thing here, 2 inches towards the center, make a mark. So now I have 4 marks on this side of the bag. Now I want to flip it over and do the same thing on this side of the bag. So measure from the folded edge 2 inches towards the zipper. Same thing down here, 2 inches towards the zipper, and repeat on this side, 2 inches towards the zipper and 2 inches towards the zipper. So now I have 4 chalk marks on this side and I have 4 chalk marks on this side. Okay, in the next step, we are going to be bringing these chalk marks together. So there's one here and there's one right here. So we want to fold this edge of the bag towards the zipper, and we want to bring those 2-inch chalk marks together so that they are pretty much touching each other. And now it gets a little bit fiddly because you're probably going to have to move your center clip out of the way to make sure that you have a nice tidy fold right here. And then you can clip these together. I had to get a larger clip. All right, so I am clipping these together with a larger clip, making sure those marks are touching. And then I'm going to come to the other side of the bag and do the same thing here. So bring these chalk marks together. I'm going to have to move this center clip out of the way. And I want to make sure everything on the inside is still looking tidy. So you want to try to avoid any extra folds or pleats when you're doing this. And just bring some nice folded edges together. And then you're going to add your clip. I'm going to show you on the other side as well. So bringing these chalk marks together by folding the fabric towards the zipper and then making sure things are tidy on the inside. And then we'll get the clip. So in this part, you just want to take your time and make sure that the folds feel good, that there aren't any extra pleats. We're not catching a piece of fabric where you were not intending to, and just clip it together. All right, the bag looks like this. It's got 4 clips, one on each corner. So now I'm going to get my ribbon. So I already cut my little 6-inch ribbon into half. So now I have 2 pieces that are 3 inches long. So I'm going to fold them in half, and I want that folded edge to point down into the bag. And I'm going to actually put it right underneath the zipper. Now this is optional, so this is going to give you the little loops on the ends of your zipper. I forgot to do that on this bag, and that is okay. So you can definitely skip this part, but it does make a nice little addition to your bag. So you want your loop right under the zipper. You don't want it to go under extra folds of fabric. You just want it resting right under your zipper so that when you're done, it's going to be right on top of your zipper, which is where you want it to be. So I put one loop on that end of the zipper. Now take the other one. I'm folding it the same way. And I am going to tuck it in between the layers right under the zipper. So maybe you can kind of see that. So here's the folds that we made. And now the little ribbon or strap is going above the fold and under the zipper. And then I'm going to do my best to clip it in place. I need a bigger clip. All right, so now I have 6 clips in place, 3 on each side. In the next step, I'm going to take this to the machine and I'm going to sew just straight down these areas where the clips are with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. All right, I put my standard presser foot back on my machine, so no more zipper foot for the bag. And I'm going to carefully take off my first clip and get my bag under my presser foot. And then I'm going to do a back stitch here. And using a 1/2 inch seam allowance. I'm just taking my time because there's kind of a lot going on here. There's a lot of folds and things. Now I'm getting near another clip. I want to take that off. Can't sew with that in place. And I really want to reinforce that little loop. So I'm going to sew over it. Let's take this clip off. I'm sewing all the way across my little piece of ribbon or strap. And now I'm reversing all the way across it so that that little piece of fabric won't get yanked out on accident. Okay, so 3 rows of stitches and then just keep sewing to the end. And again, do a little back stitch. And once this side is finished, I'm going to flip it around and do the other side. All right, so now the bag looks like this. There is a seam across those 2 ends. I'm going to take a minute and just trim off any unevenness and add those little bits to my tiny bit spin. Now comes the next fussiest part of this bag, but it's also the last part. So you can definitely do this. It's really not that hard. You're going to take your scraps. So remember, these are 2 by 6, and these are solids, but if it had a right side, you're going to put the right side onto the right side of your bag. Now remember, this is going to cover up the raw edges of your bag, but if you're done, you're like, this is enough, I just want to be finished, just do a really big zigzag stitch across this area. If you have some time, some energy left in you, let me show you how to add a really simple binding to this raw edge. So right side to right side. And you want to do your best to really center that scrap so that you have about a 1/2 inch of extra scrap on both sides of the bag. And I'm going to go ahead and clip it on. All right, so it's clipped on, and what we're going to do next is we're going to sew it right on top of that first seam. We're just going to sew straight down so that we are joining this little piece of binding to the bag in that funny little way. It's going to be a little floppy thing. So I'm also going to go ahead and pin the other piece on as well, and I'll sew them both at the same time. And I will show you how I do that. All right, I'm going to show you how to sew the fabric, just following this original seam that we made. So I'm getting this under the presser foot, and I want to start my stitches on the bag, not on the fabric. I want this little piece loose and free and flopping around. So I'm going to start right on the beginning of the bag, go forward a little bit, do a little back stitch, and then I'm just sewing right on top of those stitches. and doing my best to go nice and straight. And when I get near the end here, that's not perfect, but that's okay. It's all gonna get hidden. Anyhow, I'm near the end and I want to do another backstitch. All right, so you can see that this piece of fabric is attached. There's just that one seam. It's still pretty floppy. So the next part, we are going to be folding the fabric up, and then we are going to first fold around that raw edge right there. And then you can add a clip if that helps you. It helps me. Now I'm going to come up to this spot of fabric and I'm going to fold it down about a ½ inch. And then I'm going to fold one more time. Now I have to move my clip. Fold one more time and bring it down to this corner and clip it again. Clip on, clip off, clip on, clip off. And then come on around to this side. Repeat those steps. So I am bringing first the corner around my bag, then I'm coming up to the top, folding it down about a ½ inch or so. It's a little fussy. Bringing it down, then I'm going to add another clip. And now I'm going to add a third clip, mainly so that we can just have a nice connection here at the middle. So just kind of tuck that in so that you're looking at a nice continuous folded edge. Okay, my third clip is in place. I'm really sorry if you can hear all the leaf blowers in my neighborhood. They love to blow those leaves around. Okay, so now I'm going to very carefully take off one of my clips so that I don't lose all of my fussy folding. And I'm going to bring this under my presser foot and I'm going to sew real close to that folded edge. Let me get you a better view here. Okay, I'm right on the edge of my little piece of binding fabric. And I'm going to go forward a little bit. And then I'm going to go back a little bit. And then I'm going to go straight down carefully, making sure to sew on my piece of orange binding fabric. And when I get to the other end, I will do another back stitch. I bet you knew that. I bet I didn't even have to tell you, but hey, I'm telling you anyways. Back stitch again, right here. Sometimes I forget to back stitch. Let me know in the comments if you ever forget to backstitch. Okay, we did it. We have the second to last seam here. Let me give you a close-up look. Not bad. So in the last step, I'm going to repeat that with the other end of the bag. Sorry, it's a little blurry. And just as a reminder, I'm going to first sew the fabric onto this end following that original seam line, and then I will do my little fancy fussy folding and sew that in place. Okay, I got both of the little pieces of binding sewn on. This is what they look like. And now it's time for the grand reveal. I'm going to open up my zipper all the way and turn it right side out. It is so cute. I just want to show you how to get your corners to look kind of tidy, like so. All you have to do is just from the inside push out on the corners until it feels like it's settled in a good spot so that you have sort of an X that's more or less centered, and then it's finished. It's totally finished and super adorable. If you like making zipper bags and you want even more zipper bag ideas, I am linking to a playlist I have right here that has different variations of this shape and a whole bunch of other ones. So check it out.